Hey everyone, this is Ben with BathroomBrewsMTG. Welcome to my top 10 commanders of 2022 wrap-up. This list is going over my top 10 favorite commanders to either play with or against that came out in 2022. This list is not based on power level, and as always, this list is subjective, so let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything on here. And of course, I'll have a link to all the decks in the video description below. Okay, let's get into it. At number 10, we have Joda the Unifier from Dominaria United. Instead of building Legends good stuff, I went with Legendary Human Tribal. Humans are one of, if not the most abundant tribe in Magic the Gathering, so there are a variety of legendary humans to pick from. Some of my favorite includes were Reki the History of Kamigawa, Neri Wild Mage, and Sun Quan Lord of Wu. The reason this deck is only in the number 10 spot, however, is because of how powerful it is, even with a restriction. I might try doing a legendary Binder Chaff brew next, but we shall see. Baby Lasaga, or as Joey from EDH Rex says, Baby Lasagna comes in at number 9. This deck might be higher if I hadn't just finished putting it together like 3 weeks before recording this. I'm a huge fan of Golgari, with my favorite deck being my Tormod and Kamal partner deck, and my favorite card being the Get Rug monster, so I had to try this deck out. And let me say, it slaps. It is so much value, but it doesn't feel oppressive to play against or feel bad to play. And it gave me a home for all the weird cards I wanted to play but couldn't figure out what to do with. And the play pattern of trying to get one card to be as many types as possible feels like a little mini game within a game. So if you're on a budget or tired of the normal Golgari play pattern, I would definitely give this deck a try. I wish I'd built it sooner. Isshin 2 Heavens is 1 is number 8. I only got to play this deck once, but I've played against it numerous times since it belongs to my friend Garrett. It's a fast Voltron deck, there's a ton of attack trigger equipment and creatures and just beats face. Doubling up on attack triggers can lead to wacky and powerful turns, such as ramping with Sword of the Animist, or Moonsilver Spear, creating 2 4/4 Flying Angels. Also, there are cards like Sun Titan and Grave Titan, which have great attack triggers, and you just love to see them. His deck is more Voltron-centric, so you can probably cut the Swords of X and Y in the list, and load up on more attack triggers, which would let the deck come in at a lower budget too. Actually, if you want to see a budget version of this commander, let me know in the comment section below. Number 7 is Henzi Toolbox from Streets of New Capenna. I'm a sucker for Jund since it's Golgari with red, or as I like to call it, Burnt Golgari, and Henzi lets you play all the big dumb creatures I love while giving you card draw and letting them be cheaper. This is another deck I played against more often than played as, but it still makes the list. The stock precon can put up a lot of pressure because of the card draw while dropping threat after threat. It's a very solid mid-range deck, and I'd highly suggest buying one if you can find it. A fun idea you could also do is shuffle up a random pile of 4 CMC creatures to shuffle in each game, so you don't know what you get until you draw it. Keeps things spicy. Number 6 is Imatek the Stormlord from Warhammer 40k Precons. This commander is the second version of my favorite commander, Tormod. Creating 2 2/2s whenever an artifact leaves your graveyard can be insanely powerful and personally really fun. The reason this deck isn't higher though is because I kept the precon as the stock list for flavor purposes, which is still really fun, especially in a 4-man pod, but it didn't scratch the itch I hope it would. I do play Necrons in actual 40k, and this deck does feel flavorful. If you are looking for some fun mono-block shenanigans, definitely check this puppy out, especially with the Brothers War releasing a bunch more artifact support and some much needed reprints. My 5th favorite commander is another 40k precon one, Marnus Caligar. This weird Esper Tokens Matter commander also happens to be an absolute beefcake. A 3/5 double striker for 5 mana that draws a card whenever 1 or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control. I left this deck also as a stock precon, but I had a lot more fun with this one than the Necrons one. I think I enjoyed this fresh take on an Esper commander. There is a build I want to try where I use him with Bloodforged Battle Axe and artifact copy effects to make token copies of equipments, and then suit him up to beat face. I've taken out more than one person just swinging with this commander before. His stats are no joke. So if you'd like to see that deck, let me know in the comment section below. Urza Chief Artificer comes in at number 4. Even though this is a very recent commander, I have a soft spot for old border cards. Heck, I even made a Garth one-eyed old border tribal deck before these precons were announced. I'll have a link to that below. It's an absolute mess. I upgraded this precon quite a bit, but strictly with old bordered artifacts from the Brothers War, and a Tempest Ancient Tomb I had in another deck. Who knew making Construct at the end of each of your turns was powerful? It also feels so flavorful, being able to swing in with an army of artifact tokens and just crack some skulls. What's even better is your commander gets cheaper while you have artifact creatures out, so usually the commander tax doesn't bother me all that much. I want to buy the Grixis precon and combine them either into a Brea deck, or take out some other artifact support to soup up this deck even more. If you're looking for a non-combo artifact deck, definitely check this one out. Coming in at number 3 is another precon commander, but this time is from Baldur's Gate, Burgos Party Leader and Folk Hero. This Orzhov party deck is strangely powerful. I mean, it might not be that strange considering the commander makes treasures, but still. The play pattern of this deck has been one of the most enjoyable as an upgraded precon for me. Learning which hands to keep or to mulligan so I can get 4 party online as fast as possible is something I enjoy getting better at. A lot of the good party upgrades for this deck are also pretty inexpensive, and if you have some expensive creatures, they might just be a cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard, so you can just slam them on in. I'd recommend a small Voltron package since you'll be swinging in pretty often with your commander, and I'd include cards like Maze of Ith. Since the commander's ability is an attack trigger, not dealing combat, you can use Maze of Ith to pull him out of combat. Number 2 is an underdog for the year for sure. Best Soul Nourisher. I won't be surprised if you don't know what the heck this commander does. She's a 3 mana, 1/1 that says, whenever one or more creatures with base power toughness 1/1 enter the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Best. And, whenever Best attacks, each other creature you control with base power toughness 1/1 gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is a number of +1/+1 counters on Best. That's right, it's 1/1 tribal. My list is not budget friendly at all, but it would be really easy to achieve a powerful deck on a budget with this commander. Add all your favorite 1-mana mana dorks, Soul Sisters, and so on. Some includes that you can't miss are Toski, Bearer of Secrets, Tendershoot Dryad, and Tauren's Fist of Angels. If you're looking for a fun stompy deck on a budget, or want to get a new friend into Magic, I'd recommend this commander highly. She's straightforward and with the right build surprisingly powerful when you swing in with a bunch of 10/10s. Unlike the number 1 commander on this list, which I do not recommend for new players. And my number 1 commander for 2022 is Falcospara Packweaver. This deck was originally the Bant Precon from New Capenna, but I quickly learned how much I just hated that deck. So my buddy told me to check out this Bird Lawyer, and I was not disappointed at all. For those of you who don't know, Falcospara is a 4-mana, 3/3 flying trample bird demon, and is also a lawyer, that enters with a shield counter and lets you look at the top card of your library at any time. You may also cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control, in addition to paying their other costs. It makes me sad you can't play lands off the top, but it just might make the deck too explosive. The list I built is Bant good stuff, I guess. I'm not really sure what to call it, honestly. I run 2 infinite combos to win the game with Heliod and Walking Ballista for infinite damage, and Devoted Top to draw my entire deck and then cast Thoracle or Jace to win. My backup win condition is just to beat face. The level of interaction, decisions, and RNG I've been able to include in this deck make it my absolute favorite for 2022. Also, it's home for a lot of my blue-white staples that I've had lying around that I couldn't just find homes for. If you do build this deck, make sure to include a lot of ways to shuffle or manipulate the top of your library so you don't end up with a bunch of lands on top. If you want a budget version of this deck, let me know in the comments below. I think it'd be really fun to make. And with that, thanks for watching. Let me know what your favorite commander of 2022 was in the comments below. Thank you to all my patrons for their support, and if you'd like to join them in supporting the channel, I'll have a link to my Patreon in the video description below. If you want to keep supporting the channel for free, just hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notifications when all my videos go live. As always, this has been Ben with BathroomBrewsMTG, and remember, always wash your hands.